In 1931, a photograph was taken outside a quiet house in Maine. Nearly a century later, historians realized one of the people in that photograph had not been born yet. Photography has always carried a strange reputation. Since the 1800s, people believed cameras could capture things the human eye could not see. But what Eleanor discovered wasn't a ghost. Welcome to Now It's Dark. You're about to see photographs, old, black and white, over 100 years old, along with modern photographs. At first glance, they look ordinary. People on the street, families outside their homes. But if you look closely, someone doesn't belong. A figure in clothes that don't match the era, clothing decades ahead of their time, or someone dressed 100 years behind. Someone holding what looks like a cell phone in a picture taken more than 100 years ago. And when one woman started investigating these photographs, she saw something she wasn't ready to see. Something impossible. She saw herself. Dr. Eleanor Graves was a photographic historian working for the Maine Historical Society in 2013. She spent her life cataloging old images, restoring forgotten negatives, preserving memories, preserving moments that were supposed to stay exactly as they were captured. One day, a collection of photographs of the Carmichael House was donated by a collector. It included over 100 years of images. Black and white, glass plate negatives, 1920s era sepia prints, slides from the 1970s, and boxes of 35mm negatives covering over 70 years. Dr. Graves is assigned the Carmichael House project, and at first, she's drawn to the quality and composition. Then she notices something strange. In photo after photo, someone appears. Always in the background, always looking toward the camera, never acknowledged by the people actually being photographed. Someone who shouldn't be there. A man in a baseball cap and a hoodie in a 1930s photo. A woman in a 1930s dress from a 1980s color print. And always they're staring, just beyond the subjects as if waiting. Eleanor was at a loss. It was clear something was wrong with these photos, but she couldn't say what it was. Diane Nobreen, a colleague, said it was just double exposure or a problem in development. Eleanor should let it go and move on. But double exposures don't change position from one print to the next. She was convinced there had to be some kind of manipulation of the photos, but didn't know what it was. The director of the Maine Historical Society was unhappy with the amount of time it was taking Eleanor to complete the project. She asked Eleanor what the delay was. When Eleanor explained what she had found, the director's face went pale.
That's what Anton said on the last project he worked on. Near the end, Anton wasn't sleeping. He said the photographs were changing. I'll tell you what I told him. Let it go. It'll only make you crazy.
Then after a moment,
the photos started showing up in Anton's office before he brought them in.
Eleanor called a historian she had worked with in the past. He had access to scanning equipment the Maine Historical Society didn't have at the time. It would allow them to examine each photo in much greater detail. They'd be able to definitively determine if there was any manipulation of the photographs. When scanning the photos, Eleanor noticed figures appeared in the scans before the files fully loaded. And the more Eleanor enhanced the images, the clearer the background figures became.
I've cataloged thousands of photos. Never seen anything like this. There's no double exposure or manipulation of any kind, but they're impossible. Makes me think of the spirit photos from the 1860s, but those were double exposures. I have no way to explain these, but they appear legitimate.
Eleanor reached out to the collector who had donated the Carmichael House collection.
I swear, these images weren't staged. Nobody in the family recalls these people. They weren't there when the photos were taken. They just appeared.
Eleanor reached out to colleagues, including Natalie Drager, an archivist she worked with sometimes. They gathered information on the Carmichael family and the photographers who had previously photographed the family and their home. The more Eleanor investigated, the stranger things got. She noticed a recurring pattern. Through archived documents, missing persons reports, and other pictures in the photographic archives, she determined each person appearing is tied to someone who photographed the house decades earlier. In a chilling realization, she begins to see faces she recognizes. Co-workers, town locals, even a friend who disappeared a few years ago. Every photographer connected to the house stopped documenting their work. She's shocked and confused. What does this mean? How is this possible? What is going on? Am I losing my mind? Her mind raced and the questions kept on coming. She continued to inspect the photos. Eleanor didn't notice the most disturbing detail until much later. Her interest became an obsession. All of her colleagues had dismissed her concerns, so she decided to visit the house for herself. She had to see the home firsthand before the director assigned her another case and she was forced to move on. When she arrived, she had a strange feeling of déjà vu. She was able to gain entry to the home because of her position with the Historical Society. It had been abandoned for many years. She walked down the crumbling halls, documenting everything, feeling a sense of familiarity. She knew the layout of the home as if she'd been there 1,000 times, although it was her first visit. A thick layer of dust coated the sheets covering the furniture still in the home. The paint and wallpaper were peeling like a snake shedding its skin. It looked less like decay and more like the walls revealing themselves one layer at a time. The floorboards creaked as she made her way through the house. She snapped photo after photo, pausing only to occasionally review the picture in the LCD screen or change memory cards. While looking at the LCD screen after taking a picture in one of the back rooms, she sees the room exactly as it appears, but the screen glitches like it's about to turn off and she sees a figure on the screen. It glitches again and goes back to the original image, just the room. She recognizes a point in the front parlor that exactly matches one of the photos from the collection and realizes this is exactly the spot that photographer stood when taking that photo and takes one of her own. Later, when she reviews the nearly 200 photos, she sees something impossible. A figure. But she was alone in the house. Her pulse quickened, her hands began to shake, and in her mind, the questions began again, rapid fire. She zoomed in, then zoomed in again. The figure wasn't blurry. It wasn't distant. It was looking directly at her, in the background of the front parlor, staring directly at the camera. Eleanor sees herself. As she continues to dig through the archive, the pattern becomes clear. The house, or maybe the very location, is not just haunted. The pattern suggested something impossible. Anyone who photographs it becomes a part of a century-spanning timeline, a part of the collection. The people in the old photos are the photographers of the future. The people in today's photos are the ones who haunt the past. Everyone who takes a photo becomes trapped in the image of eras they do not belong in. And the house waits, silently, patiently, for the next curious lens. Then Eleanor notices the most chilling detail. A figure from one of the oldest photos is someone she knows. Not a distant relative, but her first mentor, Anton Zane, from the Historical Society. He's been missing for over a decade. Anton had gone missing just days after photographing the Carmichael House. The realization hits hard. The people in the photos are not just ghosts. They're trapped photographers, echoes of anyone who dared to observe the house. The house didn't need to do anything. No unexplained activity, no voices, no thrown objects. Human curiosity is enough. And now Eleanor is part of the archive. Decades before her birth, She has become part of the collection, trapped in time, waiting for someone else to notice her. Eleanor was not seen again after her return from the Carmichael House. One of Eleanor's co-workers took over the archive. Several sections Eleanor had been cataloging were never completed. So the next time you see an old photograph or take one of an old forgotten home, look closely. There may be someone there who shouldn't exist. Someone from a future you haven't lived yet, or someone trapped a long time ago. And if you're unlucky enough to take a photo of a place that collects, maybe one day, 100 years from now, someone will see you in their photograph, staring back, waiting. The catalog contained one empty entry. The date field read tomorrow. What are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video and share it with someone else you think might enjoy it as well. I would appreciate it. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And as always, thank you for watching. Now it's dark.